Welcome to CRE Mentor. Once again, this is episode 3, and we have the benefit of the pleasure to have Martin Langesfeld and Camilo Franco, both top dogs in my farm, where I have the blessing to mentor, and now they're just unstoppable. And I'm very proud of both of you, and definitely wanted to have this time to discuss a little bit about the current market situation. And you guys were the perfect soldiers, since you out there hitting the pavement and just hustling to hear from your side of the market.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here with you guys. It's super exciting to be part of your new show, and how you've really developed this and bring valuable content to the brokers that are looking for commercial variety in their careers, and also the existing brokers who many talk highly of you. You've been in the business for a while, so you're definitely someone to look up to in this industry.
Thank you.
It's hard when you start in this industry because there's not really a mentor that you can trust and follow. And real estate's a business where no one really wants to tell you their secrets. And you have a lot of people that knock your doors, and you don't open that door to everyone. But when you do see some potential in someone that's going to grow with you for years to come is when you're an open book. And at first, it's even now, years later, it's still hard to believe why we have to do things you tell us to do. But that manual is there, and we can't reinvent the wheel. And after we get hit 20 times, we're like, okay, this is why we have to say things. And we learned that the hard way. But at the end of the day, it's when we realize you are where you are because you've been beat up like we have.
Obviously, yeah, I have kids, and they don't listen. I didn't listen to my parents. When it comes down to mentorship, you're going to have some hard-headed people, right? But that's why they are successful, because they do have one thing in common. They're stubborn in some cases. They have a personality. They're type A personality. They are alpha, things of that nature. So that's what makes them. I see that in them, and I waste or invest my time. I wasted a lot of time teaching somebody with all the skills in the world, but just didn't stay enough, didn't look inside himself enough to say or to see what was wrong. But not my case with both of you. Impressively, it has been a smooth transition from you work in a residential real estate company and you came to commercial, and it's amazing how you flow through the deals. However, you're a great listener, and you, Martin, I mean, the way you talk to people, the way you manage yourself or handle yourself with people, it's amazing. So they're open to hear someone like you, so young and clear.
That's the hard part about being so young also, because you're dealing with people's biggest investments. So they'll see when I started, I was 22 years old when I started here, and I'm trying to sell their $5-10 million portfolio, and they're just like, why would I trust this 22-year-old kid? But as long as you have the market knowledge, the age doesn't really matter.
Exactly. Wow. Market knowledge. That's rule number one on how to be a closer.
There's a couple other items missing on that list. I mean, take us into the mind of a closer. What can you add to market knowledge that is also important and super valuable?
That is true, because you can study the whole book, know the whole market, but if you don't know how to express yourself with people and how to say the right things when every person's in their own situation in life, and you have to pretty much be a psychologist here too.
Market knowledge is what makes anyone become a salesman. You can sell sewing machines. Who is your market? Who will buy these things? Who can I go? Who's the distributor? What's my target? Who's my target watching what? So I can go in front of them. So that's just market knowledge. You need to know who's using these machines. You need to know who's looking for the investment property, or who's looking for that box, that space, because it needs more to run their business. So as long as you have a market knowledge and you know what they're selling for, what they're leasing for, market knowledge doesn't mean I know my market. No, you don't know your market. We went through a collapse right now. We went through a economical spike. I mean, we've been like that since COVID. That keeps going up. Now we're in a different times. So market knowledge is all the time. You move with the economy. You move with the appetite of buyers and tenants.
I think what we're facing a lot now, knocking doors and all these things, is all the objections that are coming with the uncertainty of the economy. how do you get someone that says, oh, I'll just leave my money in a simple money market account giving me 5.5%, and why would I risk going into industrial real estate, any commercial real estate, when interest rates are over that? So how do you face and deal with those objections when you, at the end of the day, want to be honest, because your client is going to come again, and again if you're good to them. So instead of just trying to get that one deal and lie to them to close that commission, how do you be honest and tell them there might be a possibility here?
In my case, throughout my years, I've seen ups and downs, right? Investors are always going to jump on anything that is cheap, is below market, correct? Or is a great deal, or they have to have. So you have to have that first and foremost right here. Investors will buy anything that is below market, right? But there are times that the economy just really is not for them. So don't cater to them. What is the economy right now good for? Is it for a user? They are expanding or reducing? Jump on that wagon. So one of your things is that you need to move like water. You need to flow like water, and you have to try to see what is it that the market is at. That's why market knowledge goes back to that. Investor right now sitting in the sidelines saying, wait, there's a lot of loans coming up. There's a lot of loans, and I can buy that cash. Now, I do see a little bit of an inconvenience there, because I want you to know that when you buy a loan, we learned this before, when you buy a loan, you're buying the loan to the bank. Now, you're the one that, if it's going to go in foreclosure, you're the one that has to do the work. Sometimes you even need to negotiate with the one holding the note. Go after them. So it's not that easy. They're all talking about loans being, maturing. What that's going to happen is just going to trigger a bunch of sales. People are going to have to dump their property. If they cannot refinance because it makes no financial sense, they're going to sell. So that means it's going to start to shift the market to a seller's market. And I don't mean 2008. I mean a seller's market, which is another great opportunity to be inside the game and be knowledgeable. What do you think the market is at right now?
No, I think something really important that you said is that you have to look at who you're talking to and get that perspective, because, there's so many people wearing different types of shoes. And until you don't put yourself in their shoes, you're not going to understand where you can take them, right? So sometimes you have an owner user, someone that's retiring. Maybe it's time for them to cash out. Maybe there's someone that's expanding. In today's market, I honestly, I've been seeing a lot of subleases. So, people are very uncertain of the economic times right now, and they're kind of just getting tight. They're getting lean. A lot of people are trying to control their expenses, and one of the biggest expenses is rent. I've gotten like 5 sublease listings in the past couple months, so I've seen an increase in that. Based on your experience, what does that tell you? What is the market trying to tell us when there's a bunch of tenants that are looking to sublease their space because they want to get out of a contract that they came in maybe in the last year or so? What do you think There
was a time that subleases were popping up everywhere, and it has to do with, obviously, the market to continue to go up, and then somebody got stuck and realized that their business is not what they thought, and they have to make a new decision. So they want to get out, and the landlord doesn't want to let them out, because if they had a rent below market, the landlord will bring another tenant willing to pay more. So the only reason that we are getting subleases is because they sign an agreement too high or perhaps high enough that the landlord doesn't want to take the risk to bring another tenant. So it puts that pressure on the tenant. So that shows you how, in this world of industrial real estate, per se, they're getting together the big machines, BlackRock, Link, Prologis, all these big guys. They're getting together and deciding what the rent should be.
And that's screwing over these tenants when they're triple net leases and they're buying these portfolios very overpriced, and the taxes all go back to what the tenants have to pay that they were never expecting when they signed that lease a year before.
Right. So what's going to happen for us, now this is for us, those doing the real estate. In a way, it's going to be a period of time of a lot of shifting, a lot of opportunities, a lot of uncertainty.
Keyword opportunities.
Opportunities.
Which is something we're always discussing here in the office. And I just wanted to highlight that, because every time I hear the word opportunity, I'm like, or the problem is like our job is also to find the solution for our customers, to bring that solution and that opportunity. So it's that adaptability that the market is calling for now is something that you have to think out of the box. You have to put yourself into the customer's shoes and come up with a solution, a creative solution, which is something that we're always brainstorming about. And it's always awesome to see, because when we're discussing about deals that we're working on, a lot of times, we feel stuck and we're like, what do we do?
Every deal is different.
So we're like, Hector. And then Hector, all of a sudden, a light bulb snaps and he's like, bro, just do this. And it's from your experience, it's from your resume, from everything that you've gone through. So
problems are opportunities.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's one key perspective that you always have to keep in mind. No matter the problem, look for the solution. More than likely, it's going to have a price.
And a deal sometimes needs to die 3 times in order to get it done. I mean, you got to understand that. You bring a deal to the table, it dies, then you have another prospect to bring it, and you're way more knowledgeable than the first time around. So, yeah, problems. I love problems. If you are a good problem solver, then you see the opportunity and you seize it and you make money.
How do you get around people trying to cut down your commission and rather go to another broker when you know what you could bring to the table? You know you have these buyers that are going to eat this property in a week if they give it to you. So how do you get around them paying you a little bit more than someone else that's cutting down half their commission?
I tell you, commissions are a subject that I have learned to control very well. Yeah. Okay, I don't really go for the almost no commission. There's a group of brokers out there, national brokers, that I'm not going to mention right now, but they don't protect the outside buyer. You got to get your fee from your buyer, or you're going to get less fee than me because I found the listing. That's just not a good practice, in my opinion, okay? You should be able to earn equally half and half, both you bring a buyer or bring a seller. So that I have a problem with. But you will be, I put myself in situations where I usually make more fee. If I have a good deal in front of me, I'll try to close that deal with a higher rate and less for the seller. So not 6, I'll take 4. I'll do the deal myself. I make money. But if you have a good deal, an easy deal, and you got to split it among 3 or 4 guys, or yeah, there's some deals that you're just not getting enough, but don't get hung up on that. You created a relationship. You close a deal. You make your fellow broker with you. You make some money for him, or he makes some extra money for you. You didn't have to do much. So everything is not just my 3%. Yeah. People that get stuck like that, they're always against I always say, other brokers, when you're doing this as long as I have, and you bump heads with a broker, it's going to bite you in the ass later. So you don't want to have that. Yes, right now you were right. Yes, he was a jerk. You know how many times I lost deals with somebody else? They didn't even counter. Why didn't you counter? You didn't have a good relationship with him. So make sure you build that relationship with other brokers. Don't give away your work. Don't. But sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. And that will keep your business going. Now, if he didn't pay you enough, you catch him out later when you sell that property. You created a relationship. Now you bombard him. Look, I gave you a discount. Now give me referrals. Give me referrals. Who else you know? So you make the money back elsewhere.
Opportunities. There's always...
Yeah.
And the importance of, working with your fellow brokers, whether whether we're working together or you're working with another cooperating broker, that communication, the importance of bringing a deal from start to finish and working with a opposing side, right? Because, each person is representing a side, either the buyer, the seller, or the leasee and the lessor. And so I think it's very key to maintain that relationship with your fellow brokers so that you can get to the closing table. Because like you said, if the deal hasn't died, it's almost like we have an inside joke. If this deal hasn't died, it kind of feels awkward,
There's
right?
something weird. Why is this going so smooth?
So when it dies, we're like, it's part of the process. We're already used to that.
I love it.
But it won't get to the finish line unless you can cooperate with that broker. And so tell us about that, about the relationships with other brokers, even though they're not within your firm. Maybe they're institutional. They work on the institutional side, and then we're coming from a boutique firm and we're bringing them business.
No. I mean, like I just said, you make sure that you don't close doors. Now, you don't have to be a pushover. You don't have to, negotiate for your client. But that, you will see personalities, different personalities. Some brokers just want to defend their client. My client, facilitate the deal. Don't take it personal. What is this deal? What is stopping me? I lost a deal. One agent that I mentor is a very successful guy. Maybe not as grateful as successful, but we lost a deal because of a roof. The building had 8 floors and the roof was, 18,000 square feet. That roof was, at that time, $100,000. The commission was $1 million. And the agent, a little stubborn, just didn't bring it to the table to say, wait a second, I'll pay for the roof. $150,000 roof, I'll pay for it. It's $1 million commission. So he let the 2 personalities, alphas, walk out of the negotiation table because they had an ego. And the reason that I bring this up is because I couldn't be in that meeting. And then the guy at the time, rookie, just didn't want to delay. It was embarrassed. I was afraid to move the deal. No, we have to meet today. I wasn't there. And when the deal died, that I hear the reason, I couldn't believe it. You let them walk away for $150,000 knowing that you had $1 million in your hands. Now, obviously, experience will make you do that. You have to know that every broker is different. And be careful to those that take it personal. Be careful to those that get into this competition. So you have to make sure that you get along with all of them. And if you don't, just be polite, do your deal, control your client. I've done deals where brokers they're pretending to work with me, and I have to go and knock on the door of the owner and says, hey, did they present this offer to you? Why are you leaving money on the table? I did a deal with someone here that, no, thank you, he took a deal. He took a deal, but we put full price offer. Somebody else was more, the next morning, 6 a.m, I was standing in front of the building. And he says, are you selling the building to a family member? The seller says, no. He says, so why are you leaving money on the table? You're leaving at least $100,000, $200,000 on the table. He looked at me and said, what? He said, yeah, counter, right here in front of me, counter. I'll get it done. He countered $200,000. Within 4 hours, I was on the contract. Obviously, the broker called me pissed. But I had to do what I had to do. Obviously, I said, hey, who are you to get in the front of the deal? It was $200,000.
And that happens a lot.
That happens a lot.
Very
so,
often.
You got to be wise. You don't want to burn that bridge with that broker.
And that's you, that you're a very seasoned broker. So imagine people trying to break into this market, dealing with these seasoned brokers that they know how to cut someone off, especially someone that's just starting off.
Right.
It's not.
But you don't want to do that to me or someone seasoned when you're starting off, because you're going to be burned.
Exactly.
In these particular cases, I did it to another seasoned broker, and we knew each other. We could look eye to eye and says, hey, I put the property on the contract for $200,000 more. What is it? What's your problem here? There's no problem.
And what are some tips that you can say or share in presenting offers? Because it also goes back to how the market is. I've found myself sometimes going through the motions, even though the market may be very competitive, and you have clients that are coming from out of states and they're not used to the market conditions in South Florida. So they're like, everything's negotiable. They come in with that attitude. No, we have to start low so we can get higher and get the price that we want. And then they're actually countering that to what you're suggesting. And then they feel that you're not listening to them. And they're like, if you're not going to do it, then I'm going to go with another broker. So what are some of your suggestions on that?
I'm very controlling with my clients. I like to take control. I need the other broker to know that I control my customer. But when you have somebody out of town, you struggle with that a lot. They just don't want to listen. They call their accountant, they call their lawyer, they call their wife. They call a lot of people to get a second opinion. Once you find yourself that the client is difficult, I say you let them flow. Like, you show them comparables, you show them the reason, you have the market knowledge. Don't play games. You have market knowledge. And you gave them all the reasons why, and he insists, put the damn offer in front of the seller. and told the broker, I said, hey, listen, this guy needs to be educated. Whether you're going to slap him or not, counter. No, it's too low. Listen to me, my friend. Counter. Do that for me as a colleague, as someone trying to make some money. Just counter and let him take that from buyer and sellers. A lot of the times, they just think that the brokers want to make easy money. And you see those shows, Selling Sunset and $1 million
TV.
listing, TV, whatever. And then my client, and the worst part is they're being recorded in both ends. And I can't believe it that those shows are not getting lawsuits left and right. How you see how they pretend that my client said this in order to do that. No, you have to be transparent. And when it comes out, I say, this is what he can back. It's not you, it's not me, it's not him, this is the market. Now, what's price? What a seller is willing to sell and a buyer is willing to buy. What do you want to do about that counter? Can we come up? Can we do something? Massage the deal. We're not supposed to make the amount of money we make by doing little things. We have to be smart. So don't get frustrated. It happens. Martin, now that I have you here in front of me, and I see that how South Florida is being, it's the new baby, as everyone wants to move to the state. Well, because we have a lot of golf courses, the sun, the beaches, the proximity to Latin America, so much. Our city is growing, but we have no land. All our land are swamps. We have land on the left, land on the right, and vice versa. The only solution for all the people migrating to our city are vertical. So you having the misfortune of losing your sister and your brother-in-law and the Surfside collapse, you've been over 2 years fighting, which, by the way, I'm sorry, usually after 2 years, you remember, you kind of move on, but you got to be in front of this thing all the time. I mean, it's just so hard. I'm sorry for that, Martin. But I need to pick your brain and find out once and for all, who did this? And I don't understand. A new developer builds a building or an older building, 40, 50-year-old building. There's no one out there to blame. This is the crazy part. I'm not saying to go get some junior guy in the plumbing department or in the electrical department and put him in jail. That's not what I'm trying to say. Or maybe that's what needs to be done. But that's not what I'm trying to imply here. Is like, why did it collapse? Why? Not why exactly, where did it crack, but whose negligence was. Was it the association? Yes. Was it the city? Was it the county? Yes. The developer? Yes. Everyone. But how do we protect ourselves now from living on these buildings that only development is incredible, it's going everywhere. In fact, it hasn't been 2 years, and from the moment that happened, a developer from the Middle East decides he wants to develop there, which is weird, right in the middle of the most successful, opulent Jewish community in the United States, Surfside, and now within weeks, somebody puts a bid on the land and is building a building. So that must anger you. It bothers me terribly. Brokers are going after it. They want to represent him. You see it in other channels when they talk about this new developer coming to do this new building. Wait a second, 98 people die there and we still don't know what happened. So that upsets me. I'm sure it does to you. But you're working so hard. From the real estate standpoint, from future, as an investor, tomorrow I want to own a condo because I'm going to retire there. What's happening? What do we expect from this?
It's scary. It's scary because how many other buildings down the coastline are in the same situation? There were over 5 buildings evacuated after the collapse. It's been 27 months and we still have no idea why this building collapsed. But what we do know is that these problems came from day number 1. The inspectors, the city and the county, they gave a green light for this. They gave a green light and 40 years later, the building collapsed. So these problems, when people are going to start having to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in special assessments in 2025 with the new law where you can't waive your reserves, that's not the problem of the innocent people who bought their dream apartment. That problem is from the county and the city approving these buildings 30 years ago with messed up violations. So why do we, who worked our entire lives to buy our property, have to pay $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 in special assessments for your own life? Right after the collapse, I think 3 or 4 months after, I started getting very involved in Tallahassee. And I had no political background whatsoever. Nothing. I didn't know anything really. But I knew my sister was killed with her husband. And I was going to do everything possible to make sure those who are accountable face accountability and no one has to go through what we went through. And I say that 27 months still fighting for this. But being in Tallahassee, I got involved when Senator Hudson, he was trying to pass, I think, Senate Bill 736, which was trying to drop accountability from developers from 10 years down to 4 years. From the day that you purchased the land, there was something just ridiculous when you would expect after a collapse in the middle of the night with no cause, accountability would be raised. But this just came to show, once that collapsed, this just scared all the developers down the coastline. Oh shit, what if mine is next? I can't be held for $1 billion lawsuit. How am I going to deal with that? My whole company is going to go bankrupt. So you get all these legislators that have their special interest and their families own 20,000 apartments and single family homes. This is where the problem starts. These legislators are doing things with their private interest, personal interest, to help themselves. It was House Bill 5D by Representative Daniel Perez. Very grateful for what he's done. There were a lot of people who didn't want to push this through because of this is going to raise, unfortunately, the insurance, the condo associations. They won't let people waive the reserve. So a lot of people are going to bleed, unfortunately. But it goes back to who's approving these buildings that 30 years later, we are the ones that have to bleed for that. And what this law does is it brings the 40-year recertification down to 30 years. And if you're 3 miles from the coast, it's 25 years.
3 miles from the coast?
25 years.
Everyone.
It's a very, very big group of people. But most importantly is you can't waive your special assessments anymore when this law gets enacted in 2025. Meaning the Champlain Towers that collapsed, they had $16 million in special assessments. That's not normal. My brother-in-law, he had to pay, I think it was $95,000, $100,000 in special assessments. Other people had $200,000. This is going to be going across the coastline. 10, 20, $25 million in special assessments that you can't waive. And you can't say in 5 years is we're going to pay the special assessment. It's got to be now.
So what it's saying is, when you're going to make changes, you're going to make repairs on the building, you can schedule them to be done X. No, you have to have the reserves at all times. In 2025, Mark?
Yeah, but this isn't me going against the law. I 100% support it because it needs to be done. We saw what happens if you don't pay your special assessments and it gets delayed and delayed and delayed. But the problem goes back again to who's approving these inspections. So is there any legislation that's looking over these inspectors?
I think you should take a position somewhere that can oversees how the property managers, the condominium associations, and the city officials interact with each other. Because we can blame and
they don't want that. I've tried to
I know. But what I'm trying to say is that you have been you're in the forefront of this tragedy and you're being involved and you are in real estate and no one will have my back if I have a condominium, a unit, more than you because you felt it in your soul. I will say, in my opinion, seek something in relation to that. A lot of us will feel great if you're part of something like that because you talk about the developers. Okay, well, that developer and a building 15-year-old, it's fine. It's going to maybe get damaged in 20 more years. Well, he's liable for 10, for 15. So be it. The building is in perfect condition. But now I have a good friend of mine, my golf coach. He's involved right now on this new type of cement. Very good cement. 10 times better than the current cement. Why don't we make developers use this type of concrete? Plumbing, management, associations, condominium associations with the mafia that can't get out, whatever the case may be, somebody's have to start paying attention. And once you get what you were trying to achieve for the loss of your sister, we still have to have an answer. And the only way to have an answer is somebody putting the finger on them and making sure that everything gets done more kosher, so no life needs to be spared again. From the real estate standpoint, I see a mess in 2025. If you're buying a condominium, you better make sure that that building has everything clean or in perfect condition, or it has enough money to do what they need to do. Because in 2025, so many buildings are going to go through this. The guys painting buildings, the guy doing structural work, the guys engineering, they're going to be busy, and their prices are going to go up again. Watch out for those in pre-construction brokers selling buildings at crazy numbers to be closing in 2025, 2026. Because I think the market is going to be flooded with condominiums in this land, in this town. Because the problem is still here. I mean, they're still paying. It's too raw. And there will be a lot of supply, in my opinion, when the law kicks in.
As brokers and those that are in residential, I think it's a opportunity for them to digest that financial information of the building that they're selling to their clients and be transparent and let them know what's going on. I think it's just first of all, it's crazy that it has to come to this at this point. Something that could have been avoidable if it was done correctly from the beginning. But now we're in this situation. So what's the solution, right? I think a lot of people will suffer.
Put pressure on the county.
Yeah. What solution the county's going to offer? What solution is the city going to offer people that are not capable of handling these new assessments that are going to come into the table from one day to another? I think it's going to call for
reforms.
A sad situation.
This needs to come from the federal government. Needs to step in and help with these interest loans, 0% interest loans paid over a certain amount of time. Because
for those that are in trouble,
For those that are in trouble, because you can't put the value of life because the county or the city approved something 20, 30 years ago faulty.
For sure.
So it got to a point, this was declared a federal emergency. They can't just come here and leave when the cameras leave. No, this is a very big problem in Florida and across the whole.
But I also want to blame the condominium associations. They are a mafia. They're just not.
And who's looking over them?
Exactly. But this is what I say about America. The beauty about America is because it's full of true Americans. You have to love your country. You have to love your city, your municipality, and the building you live in. You're living in a community, in a building, just be part of it. Care, take photos, send emails, talk to people, help, so you can live in a building where more families are. And it's just incredible. When you look at the skyline of Miami, we are full of that situation, and no one seems to care anymore. Like, there has been a lot of money being put onto just keeping this shot. You haven't let them because you're all over the news, you're everywhere. But it's just incredible how...
I'm going against all these people.
No one knows.
They don't want me speaking about this. They want this done under the table, and that's it. I'm fighting, and honestly, my best friend right now is the media. The media, I'll call a press conference, and in 1 hour, I'll have 10, 15 cameras outside. And that's the only reason why these doors keep opening up for me is because they're scared of the media. They don't want to look bad. They don't want elections coming up and them having all the pressure on them.
No, the only reason that this is even spoken is because you're in South Florida. This thing would happen in Milwaukee, there's no conversation. It's just because it's happening in South Florida that you still have the voice, and that's great for the other 96 families.
But at the same time, like you said, taking pictures, doing this, if you're living in your apartment building, they were doing that in the Champlain Towers. But this all ends up in the hands of 5 corrupt individuals sometimes. There's no oversight on these people. There could be 1,000 people sending, oh, my roof is messed up. You can see these cracks, the parking, there's a leak here.
I saw the videos of the conditions of that building, and they were deplorable. They were terrible.
It was horrible.
But I think the association was just trying to postpone something that once I saw the video, I just couldn't believe. I wouldn't live there. I wouldn't live there. But they were trying to postpone. At that point, this is with the small amount of buildings that are in very terrible conditions. That's when the federal government should come in with those loans. Then from the side of the developers, they're not going to be on the hook for 50 years But you should be able to be on the hook for, or at least the building form, how you have to build a building, it has to be on the safe side, not only on the design side. And then from the side of the city or the city officials, the departments, I mean, you have to make sure it's already good that they're doing the 40-year certification authority, but you have to keep an eye on what's going on. And then the condominium association, they have to be realistic. They have to learn how to manage a building where more people have vested rights and their lives depend on. I hope there's a good end to this story. I don't know how, but I hope we'll gain something from your loss, Martin. From the side of real estate, I just think I love to be in commercial. I'm glad you guys are in commercial because there might be some oversupply in 2025 or 2026 for vertical living.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the different asset classes. How did you get into industrial, and have you adapted to other asset classes when you have clients that maybe were looking for a warehouse but then decided to get into retail shopping centers or hotels or things like that?
I moved to every sector of my business with the times, create an opportunity, flowing like water. There was a time that everybody wanted to own a hotel. You go for the hotel. Office space is the big deal. You go for office. You learn the trade. Then you go start looking for other buildings. Industrial, that's when I came in. I started this business in that concrete box that is wonderful because you have a lot of users. It's now the new trend since COVID, all these developers, all these hedge funds to come in. I mean, they've been doing it for years, but now it got crazy because they realized that the world moves through that box. But before, there was a lot of owners, and that's creating a problem. There's no land left, and a lot of the buildings, about 40,000 square feet, are owned by a hedge fund or a publicly traded company. So the market has gone really tight, so then you move to other investments. Really, is once you learn how to manage your customer, how to do a deal, how to deal with objections and difficulties, you can shift sectors any given time because it's almost like the same, right? It's like, I don't sell homes, but if you beg me, please sell my house, sure, no big deal. Can you buy a house? Of course. Why? Because I'm used to doing other deals that actually take more of negotiation skills than something so emotional like residential. So once you're already involved in the purchase from an investor standpoint of an office or a retail, you can do it to a warehouse or you can do it at a hotel. You need to have market knowledge on every industry, but you don't need market knowledge on everything. A lot of brokers out there, I'm a commercial broker. No, what are you looking for? Hotels, I don't really have that much experience. Is it worth the client? Do you have enough control? And then go learn it. It will take you 2 weeks for you to be on point. But once you learn how to now use this knowledge into the next steps of how to be a closer, that I will tell in another episode. Guys, I love it. We need to do this again because the market shifts all the time. I think before Christmas, we're going to hear something. I think after Christmas, we're going to hear something. Definitely for the past 3 years, I've been killing it 1 year more than the next. This one, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it as good as last year. Why? Why flat? Why not higher? Something's happening, and we have to pay attention. And I hope you guys understand that when tough times come in, that's when the ones with the knife in the mouth make money. And that's what I really teach here, to politely go find good deals. So don't be afraid to do what you must in tough times. That's when we excel. That's when things happen for us. That's how you become a developer. That's how you invest for things, because you jumped on the opportunity that presented himself. Thank you, Camilo. Keep on rocking. You are a superstar here. You are amazing. The way you handle your clients is flawless. And that, my friend, is a skill hard to learn. And you, Martin, oh my God, how much work you put into this situation with the Surfside. It's incredible. And the skills that you have now is, I will sit you down in front of anyone. I don't care what size of deal, and you will be able to handle yourself after meeting all the people you have. But the best part of all is people want to do business with you. They can see that you are straightforward, you never surrender, you steadfast in your beliefs, and my friend has a set of skills that there's just not just anyone out there with the desire to sell real estate just can acquire. Congratulations to both of you,
Thank you,
Martin
Hector.
and Camilo. And to next time, and let's
do it
continue this
again.
conversation.